Hey there. It's been a while, hasn't it? I'm really sorry for my absence. It's been like forever, I swear to God. Today I am back for a pretty exciting video. I figured since I'd been gone for such a long time, I may as well come back with somewhat of a bang. So I have returned and I am in my familiar Fairy Lights Tumblr-esque cardboard background to give you the answers you need. The answers you deserve. A comprehensive guide on how to write an MLP series. Now, writing an MLP series is no mean feat, and I want to do a couple videos based on this concept, talking about different kinds of MLP series, but today we're going to be tackling high school. I've seen so many different kinds of MLP high school series, and I don't think it's a genre worth scrapping, but it's something that really needs to be worked on because I swear to God most of them are the same.
Hi, my name is Shayla Michaela, and I just moved to California at this new school. Meet me and my two best friends, Cheerilee and Cheerilee. We like to go shopping at the mall. But wait, oh no, don't forget the popular girls, Rarity and the other two. They're so evil and mean. Oh man, and Rarity's boyfriend, Rainbow Blitz, who is in the football team.
Something he needs to change. Like I mentioned earlier, writing a series is no mean feat. It takes a really long time, but I'm hoping that because I've distilled it into a couple of really easy steps, I might help you if you're a bit creatively spent or if you want to enhance an idea that you already have. I would advise that if you actually wish to write a series with my instruction today, you might want to get a pen and some paper out or a Word document and start writing because a lot of this involves lists and you do need to write a lot for this. But it'll be fun, I promise. The first thing you're going to need to do is write down some key themes. Now we're going to be writing down some themes to do with the aesthetic and story. Now the aesthetic is basically all the visual and design choices of your series. What colors you use, what font your intro title is written in, what songs and music you use. It's, I guess, the lesser important of the two, but it is still really important and I think very overlooked generally. And we're also going to be writing down some key themes for your story. Throughout this video I'm going to be using just different as an example on how to do this just because it does a lot of things really well. So if I was Lizzie and I was writing down the aesthetic choices I was going to make for Just Different, I would write things down like really colourful, minimalist, lots of white in the background, because Just Different is actually really colourful. If you look, like, all the characters are really brightly coloured, like all the background sets are really colourful, the music in the intro is pretty basic, like sort of poppy, synthy music, and the font that Just Different is written in is a basic sans font. But you're basically just going to want to write down whatever kinds of aesthetic choices you're going to make when designing your series. Now the next kinds of themes are story themes, and these are probably the most important, and again, as an example for Just Different, I'm just going to go through a couple of the themes it tackles. And themes are basically, in this sense, like concepts or ideas. So the themes that are tackled in Just Different are like social issues, so the segregation and separation of the different houses, how they never mix, and that feeling of being alienated or not belonging, which is probably the most important theme in Just Different, and the idea that chaos and order equal harmony, and the battle between the two. So you might want to write down just some kinds of themes, you know, like bullying again, or self-image, or love, or romance, whatever kinds of themes that you want to tackle in your series. As a quick summary, we now have our key themes for aesthetic and story, so how you want your series to look and what you want the story to be about, or what you want to focus on. You don't even need to know what's going to happen yet, just as long as you know what you kind of want to deal with. Next, you want to focus on your setting, and this is probably the easiest and most fun, and it also kind of shapes your series the most. So in this episode we're going to be focusing mostly on high school series, as I said, which means your setting is already high school, you can write that down, but you also need to come up with a time and a place. For your time period, I would recommend anything that is not the 2010s, aka now. Setting something in today's period, I mean, obviously you can, a lot of series are, most of mine are, but it's like having a series that's set in a different time period just really quickly makes it original and different. And then you also have to think about what country you set it in and what kind of an area. So for example, you might want to set it in an urban area, a really rural area, a city area, you know, and maybe it might be a boarding school. But I think the most important thing to think about is what country you set it in. Don't set it in America. I'm sorry, America, but seriously. Oh, also, don't set it in California. I'm not joking. Every series, especially in the LPS community, they're always in California. Set it in Arizona, for example, if you really must set it in America. Set it in London. That's a bit interesting. Set it in Canada. That's cool. Set it in Sweden. Like, literally, why not? We've got a really good base for premise, and and that's where we're going next, the premise. The premise is basically the first little bit of your story. I'm gonna give you an example of the premise of Just Different, and then I'll give you a bunch of example premises if you still can't think of something. So the premise of Just Different is that Diamond Rose goes to a prestigious boarding school, only to find that she doesn't truly fit into any of the 4 houses and must engage in a trial period of each one. It just has to be 1 or 2 sentences, but you just need some kind of a way to start your series. And if you still can't think of something, I actually have 5 examples that I came up with, so you can either use these or edit them, because honestly, the premise is not the script, so it's okay, it's not stealing, you can use this if you'd like to. A graffiti artist in high school writes her feelings about society on the school walls. A talented English student gets paid to write failing students' essays. She uses the money to help support her and her older brother. A track runner gets a crush on an art student. She attempts to join the art club and become good at painting to impress her. A ragtag group of different students with different interests try to make a film together to win a competition. A quiet student is put under an ancient spell and gains the ability to read minds. She must come to grips with this new power. This is probably going to take some time, but you have to think of basically a premise, just a beginning of a story that has potential. And if you do actually use any of these, please let me know, because I would absolutely love to watch your series. I'm really excited about all these ideas. Anyway, the next step is to turn your premise into a story block. A story block is like the step before a script. Basically, how that works is you bullet point your whole series. It basically makes plot holes impossible because you've completely bullet pointed the whole script and you can see if it makes sense. It also means that the whole thing is done and you don't have to worry about there not being enough episodes or being too many. The whole script is already there. It's basically like drawing a pencil sketch underneath your line work. This is sort of where I can no longer help you that well, because where you choose to take your story is completely your choice. And if you have some issues with this, you can always comment down below and myself or someone else can help you. Or you can @ me at Panda on Instagram or Catnip_Panda at Twitter, and I can help you out there. Now, have as many episodes and challenges as you'd like, but my only piece of advice to you is make sure that they all affect the plot and that they're all necessary. A way you can test this is if you have an episode you're not sure is necessary, take it out entirely. And if it doesn't affect the plot, either get rid of it completely or change it so it does. Now, once you have your block, separate them into different episodes. If you're doing this digitally, you can press enter and then give them different headings. If you're doing this traditionally, you can put brackets around each bullet point and then put a number of which episode. This just gives you an idea of how many episodes you have and if you need to write more. But you may have noticed there's something I haven't commented on. The end. Yeah, the end is pretty important, so it has its own little subcategory. Let's go, ending. The ending is really important, but there are actually only 2 points that I have that you need to follow to make a good ending, in my opinion. 1. Have a twist. The twist ending doesn't have to be something like, "You were my sister all along? I was actually dead and a ghost the whole time? My arm was actually my wife?" You don't need to have a "Luke, I'm your father" to have an actual twist ending. But it is important to have something that's different or something that's unexpected, because otherwise it ends exactly as you thought it would end and it's a bit anticlimactic. But the other point is don't achieve the goal in the method proposed. So going back to the example of the track runner that has a crush on an art student and wants to join the art club and become good at painting to impress her, right? Her goal is to date the art student, and the method she's going to use is to become good at art. I would say you can achieve the goal, but don't use the method proposed. Let the track runner date the art student at the end, but don't make it because she was good at painting. So you can have a little twist there too. Maybe the art student is actually really big into basketball, so they actually have that in common. Or even maybe she finds another girl in the art club who's also really nice but likes her just for her. And so instead of dating the first art student, she dates this other girl that they're actually getting along really well. So for instance, in Just Different, if Diamond Rose actually just found a house that fit her, she was like, "Oh, I'm actually Acadian, huh?" That would be really anticlimactic, because one, there'd be all those non-Acadian fans that would be disappointed, but also it's just like you'd been there for the whole series and it was just kind of pointless. The actual ending of Just Different, spoilers, skip to this time code here if you don't want to be spoiled. But the actual ending of Just Different is Diamond Rose figures that she needs to find herself before she can choose a house and that she's just not ready. Now that ending was actually my idea. mind explosion. Lizzie and I are actually, we've been friends for a while and we speak on Skype every now and again. So one day we were speaking and she was like, look, I'm not really sure about the ending of Just Different. I don't really know what to do. And her current idea was to have her join Krylect. The problem is though, by joining Krylect, she is achieving the goal in the method proposed. Her goal is to feel like she belongs, and the method proposed is to be a part of a house. So we kept talking and then we came up with the idea that she doesn't join a house at all and she takes the train back and does something else, which was kind of cool. I like that ending. This also happened with Midnight Rarity. You probably know him as well. He had a series Party of One very early on, right? Again, this is a spoiler. Skip to this time code. Pinkie Pie, she gets harassed by all her friends and she's like, oh, forget it, you know, I'm gonna kill myself. Obviously there's more to it than that, but I'm summarizing here. So she gets really upset, all her friends are being really awful to her. She decides to commit suicide, but before she does, she's like, no wait, I can't do it yet. I have to take vengeance and kill all my friends. And Luis approached me early on, you know, we were talking on Skype, and he was like, look, I don't really know what to take the series, you know, I'm thinking of having her just kill herself at the end. And I'm like, well, what if this is a pretty dramatic twist, but whatever. It turns out that in that first or the third episode she did kill herself. But the difference here is that the rest of the series takes place through Fluttershy's perspective, who is like her only friend, you know. And so Fluttershy's like freaking out and having hallucinations because of the psychological damage of her friend dying, and that's what the series is. Anyway, so basically, yeah, have a bit of a twist and don't achieve the goal in the method proposed. How many times have I said that? Like 6 or something? So as a summary, we now have our key themes for aesthetic and story. We have our setting, our time and our place. We have a premise and a whole story block, and we have an ending, which is really important. We only have 2 more things to do before we can start filming, which is really exciting, yay. The first thing we need to do is write out our characters. Now this is probably my favorite part of all. I'm going to be showing you how to write out a character sheet, and then you can keep doing this for all your characters. So the first thing you have to do is draw a square. Now you don't have to be an artist or anything, I'm certainly not, but you can basically just draw a picture. A really simple picture of whoever it is your main character is. So for instance, I'm going to be drawing a picture of Diamond Rose here, and then write out their name and put the gender symbol, and then you can put different bullet points for what their personality is. And that's really all you have to do. So for Diamond Rose, I wasn't really sure what to do, so I put funny, has a cat, and is a little awkward. And you can also put their favorite food, color, their favorite movie or song. These aren't canon, but you know, it's like a nice idea. You can put as many things as you want in, as many interests and any passions, dislikes as well, you know, things that they don't like. But writing out character sheets is really important because you get to know your character really, really well, really quickly. So yeah, have some fun, put on a movie, put on some nice fluffy socks, and write out your character sheets in a notebook or on a piece of paper, and keep it, put it on your wall. That'll help you writing your scripts. And incidentally, writing your scripts is the last part of writing a series. This is sort of where we have a crossroads. Most people will write the first episode or the first 2 episodes and then continue writing scripts as they're filming. But I'm different because I write out my entire script before I even touch my camera. You see, when I did Wings of Desire, I wrote them as I went, but I ended up having so many plot holes that the ending was crap. Now, there are 4 different ways to writing your script. Celtics, Final Draft, Google Docs, or Microsoft Word, and paper. Celtics is a completely free script writing program where you can write scripts and stuff. Final Draft is the not free version that I use. I pirated my copy, but you might not want to for yours. Google Docs is like Microsoft Word, but it's completely free. It's online. It saves automatically. You can share your documents with other people. They can actually just comment on your work. You can work on things simultaneously with other people. You can outline your work, and it's just generally a better program than Microsoft Word, so I'd recommend using it. And paper is paper. We all know paper. Up until Neon Runner, I wrote all of my scripts on paper in a notebook, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's more time consuming, but I actually really enjoyed it. I liked the immersion of it, and I like handwriting, and I liked being able to use nice pens and highlight all my stuff and doodle my scripts, so there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I currently use Final Draft because it's much easier to actually write a script like that, and the great thing about digital is that you can delete things and press enter, and it's just a much more freeing experience. Now, to use Celtics, they'll have instructions on how to use it. It's a little bit more difficult, same with Final Draft. But to format a script, this is a little bit of a quick tutorial for Google Docs and Microsoft Word. So you begin with, in capital letters, your scene, so like where you are, and then press enter, and then press the tab key twice, which will push you forward, and then write the person's name in capitals. Press enter again and press tab once, and then you can write their line of dialogue. Also, underneath the person's name, if you press tab twice, you can write something in brackets, so like how they're saying it. You know, if they're whispering, or they're shouting, or they're lying. After the line of dialogue, press enter again, and then you can write down what action they are performing, or a description of the setting, or a camera direction. So as an example, President's Office, Donald Trump. I am a racist. Trump picks up his phone and begins to type. Camera pans out. The president's office is quiet, and the sunlight is filtering through the window softly. Hopefully that's a good example. That's how you write a script. It's pretty easy actually, so do what you want, yay. But basically, you've done most of the work, and we've got ourselves a good high school series. Let's summarize again. We've now got our key themes for aesthetic and story, so how it looks and what issues we're going to tackle, our setting, time and place, our premise, our whole story block, our ending, our characters, and our script. The only thing left to do is build a set. We made all those bullet points and aesthetic choices. Of course, we have to actually make those aesthetic choices now. Some sets that you might need for a high school series are the protagonist's bedroom, a school locker hallway, classrooms, modular, I'll explain what that means later, club rooms, like the art club or photography club, whatever, a track ring or an oval or a field, a chemistry lab, an art room, a train station, a cafe, a supermarket, or literally any kind of set that is reoccurring. My general rule of thumb is if the set only appears once, you don't have to build it because it takes too much time, just make it on the day. But if it appears a couple times, then you may as well make it from scratch. Modular means that the set can be rearranged and changed. And I say that your classroom should be modular because if you make one classroom that's modular, you only have to make one. When you're actually building the sets, there's also a lot of design choices that you need to think about that will go hand in hand with your aesthetic list or your aesthetic themes that you came up with before. For example, the color of the lockers. This is a great one because it can be literally anything. Don't just make them red because they're usually red. If your series is particularly girly, make them pink or purple, you know, why not? You can also think about your protagonist and have a locker color that makes them stand out. So if you have a blue pony as your protagonist, maybe have like orange lockers so that they stand out. You can also think about the color of their bedroom or the classroom walls. You can think about different kinds of posters for bands, movies, or like educational posters on the classrooms you can, you know, print out. If it's in a different country, you can make these in that country's language. Also another thing to think about is train station timetables and cafe menus, what language they're in as well. And now some really quick tips. Make your intro no longer than 15 seconds long because otherwise your viewers will skip it. Also, stay away from cliches. I've seen so many high school series where the whole premise is about, you know, like defeating the popular girls because they just moved to a new school in California. Don't do that. And if you can do different kinds of accents other than your natural one, do them. If you speak with a British accent, have British characters. If you speak with an American accent but you do like a really good Scottish accent, have Scottish characters. It's kind of sad to have all of the characters just be American all the time. Change things up a little bit. I think that's about it. We did it, y'all. We wrote a series together. If you're having any issues, then write down in the comments below and I or someone else can help you, or you can @ me at Catnip Panda on Instagram and Catnip_Panda on Twitter. I'd absolutely love to hear from you, so yeah, let me know. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, that brings this video to a close. Have a lovely evening, have a lovely day, have a lovely morning. I don't know where you are right now. And if you choose to make a series, then let me know. Tell me about it. @ me on social media or tell me in the comments. I really want to see it, yay! Okay, bye!